Britain has a long and proud gardening heritage.
And a passion for plants that goes back centuries.
But all is not well in our once green and pleasant land.
Front gardens paved over.
Our lawns lacklustre.
And rare wildflowers on the brink of extinction.
So we need you to help us.
In our campaign to help rediscover
Our passion for gardening.
We're going to give you the best gardening tips.
And revealing British gardens that will quite simply take your breath away.
It's time to plant and prune.
And sharpen your shears.
Let the Great British Garden Revival begin.
On tonight's show, Alys Fowler is on the campaign trail for kitchen gardens. But first, I want to celebrate the herbaceous border.
For me, the very essence of a British garden, its heart and soul, is best described by these herbaceous borders, in full flow, festooned with blooms and foliage. The sheer number of plants, their composition, the space required, not to mention the maintenance, means that these borders in recent years have fallen out of favour. But I firmly believe, with a little understanding of the horticulture and consideration of the artistry involved, this symphony is achievable in any garden. So join me, Chris Beardshaw, for my revival of the Great British Herbaceous Border.
In my campaign, I'll be exploring the creativity involved in designing herbaceous borders.
We can see the flow, the dynamics of movement through the border.
I'll be taking a closer look at one of the most versatile herbaceous perennials to place in the garden.
If you're looking for something that's interesting, that's going to lengthen your season, asters are a must.
As well as celebrating one of the most famous herbaceous borders in the country. And I'll be giving you tips on how to keep your plants healthy.
To start my revival, I've come to the extraordinary Arley Hall and Gardens in Cheshire, home to the Warburton family since the 15th century.
The imposing house we see today was built by Rowland Egerton Warburton in the 1840s, so what looks like an Elizabethan palace is actually early Victorian. While the house was being finished, Rowland and his wife Mary began redesigning the formal gardens. And I've come to see one particular feature that would change the landscape of British horticulture forever.
And it's this. A garden of double herbaceous borders, originally crafted in the 1840s. The oldest and earliest known example of horticulture of this style anywhere in the world.
These borders are made up of herbaceous perennials, non-woody, fleshy plants that erupt to life in spring, producing a chorus of colour, but then retreat to below ground in winter to create a living barometer of the seasons. Sourced by plant hunters from around the world, it was here at Arley these well-travelled plants were given their first home in a formal garden.
Such was the drama created. It not only ignited the world of horticulture, it lies at the very heart of the British garden.
These borders have been an important part of our gardens for generations, but are perceived as labour-intensive. Sure, they need to be controlled and orchestrated, and in the late 20th century, it seemed we simply fell out of love with them.
Unless we start replanting now, this essential component of our gardens will be lost forever.
In order to convince you of the rewards and satisfaction in growing herbaceous perennials, I want to start my campaign by showing you a garden that is a true labour of love. This is the Manor House at Upton Gray in Hampshire, a spectacular private house and garden. 30 years ago, this garden lay in ruins, and the task of restoration fell to Rosamond Wallinger, who bought the house in the mid-80s, knowing precious little about gardening.
What was it like when you first came here?
The garden was almost invisible. There were no borders in the rose lawn at all. It was weeds. The garden had turned into a complete ruin.
Investigating the history of the house, Rosamond soon discovered that the jungle in her garden hid an important piece of our horticultural heritage. It had been designed by one of Britain's most celebrated garden designers, Gertrude Jekyll.
She was born at a time when plants were coming back from around the world, first introduced to Kew and then distributed through the great new nurseries that were springing up all over England. She was using new plant material in an artistic way. She called it painting the land with living things.
Using Jekyll's original plans, Rosamond slowly put this important Edwardian garden back together. As with many Jekyll gardens, the highlights of this garden are the carefully crafted and highly dramatic herbaceous borders.
There's a wonderful sense of anticipation as you come up the steps. You're never given a full-blown view of the border until actually you get to this point, and suddenly it just opens up in front of you.
Yes, that's true.
It's difficult when you look at this to imagine that there was a time when people didn't want to embrace herbaceous borders, and yet they fell out of fashion so quickly. Why do you think that was?
Well, we had 2 world wars and labour was diminished financially. A garden that was run by 1 or 2 people, after having been run by 8 or 9 people, was bound to have to economise on the difficult. But you need this contrast. You need the excitement of these amazing herbaceous plants at the end of the year. And they make the whole garden season alive.
To conduct this symphony of colour, Rosamond follows a score written over 100 years ago.
It's lovely to see the plants in her handwriting, even the way that she's written it.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can see not just the tiering, but we can see the flow. It was the ability to be able to not just appreciate the plant, but to weave with that plant. It's a tapestry that she's creating.
Yes. It's lovely looking at it through your eyes instead of mine, who's the one who's sort of the digger.
This garden is one of the most accurate and best preserved Jekyll designs in Britain, and central to its success are the herbaceous perennials, which makes Upton Gray a critical part of our heritage and a vital component of my revival. Back at Arley Hall, the stunning herbaceous borders are an inspirational living work of art.
There is a real sense that these borders are framed, just as a masterpiece would be. The wall on one side, the hedge on the other. They serve to focus our attention on this wonderful indulgence of planting. But more than that, the structures provide shelter for the plants. They come from many climates around the world, and they all revel in wonderful growing environment.
To unlock the secrets of how these borders are composed, we simply need to take a closer look at the individual plants.
Laying out herbaceous borders starts at the back with the structure or framework. In this case, a wall, but at home that could easily be a fence or a hedge. It provides the shelter, the protection, the backdrop to the whole performance. And then when we start thinking about plants, we'll start with the tall and robust. Just look at that Rudbeckia. Beautiful yellow, umbrella-like flowers. And boy, does it achieve some vigour. A wonderful example of a clump-forming plant, essential for the back of the border. Big, rounded drifts are allowed to really prosper. As we come slightly further forwards, well, the plants get a little more delicate. For instance, this monkshood. The top of the flower is said to resemble the hood of a rather sinister-looking monk. It's a wonderful plant to use because it has a different form. It's upright. It's like a rocket disappearing off into the sky. It adds an energy and a vibrancy to the whole scheme. As we come further forwards, well, the plants tumble in size. Plants like the crocosmia or Montbretia, with its sword-like leaves that squeak when they're wet. The shape of the leaf gives us a completely different texture. The orange flowers radiating out in low light levels. It's a great performer, very resilient and grows in almost any soil. And then right at the front, well, you use the plants which move and mingle, the socialites, like the Jerusalem sage down here, the phlomis. Yellow blooms in early summer, but don't be in too much of a hurry to cut those off. Once they've faded, these structural and architectural heads will persist right through the winter months. It's plants like this that will move and migrate. They allow the whole border to marry together. They are the glue between all of these other plants. The next consideration is colour. Just look at the repetition of yellows down the full length of this herbaceous border. Now, it doesn't matter if your border is 200 metres long or 2 metres long. Just a simple repeat of a single colour will be enough to draw you into the depths of the border.
If you're looking for a plant to extend the season through to the mists of autumn, then there's one obvious candidate, the aster. This is the family-run Old Court Nursery in Worcestershire. The nursery holds the national collection for autumn-flowering asters, and they've amassed over 400 varieties, making this one of the largest collections of aster anywhere in the world. I'm meeting Mum, Meriel, and daughter Helen to find out about a plant that's often overlooked.
The nursery has been here a considerable length of time.
Well, yes, it was started by Ernest Ballard in 1906. And then my father-in-law came as manager in 1947, and he bought it and carried on.
What is it about the aster that really fascinates you? Why did you want to revive its particular interest?
Because I think it's got such versatility. So as a garden plant, if you're looking for something that's interesting, that's going to lengthen your season, it's the perfect plant. There's such a range to choose from.
The aster was once a garden favourite, but in the mid-20th century, enthusiasm began to wane. And if it weren't for the Picton family, diversity within the species could easily have been lost. To prove their validity, the Pictons showcased their asters in herbaceous borders that would grace any garden.
It's a lovely looking border, isn't it?
Yes, and you can see how they work in amongst all the other plants as well, which is how I like to see them, from the very low ones down here, and then you work all the way through the border to the sort of mid-height, all the way up to the very tallest ones that you can see.
The aster can deliver colour in your garden from midsummer right up until the beginning of December. And by examining the flowers, another important attribute of this diverse plant reveals itself.
We've got the petals around the outside edge, but then each one of these little sections, if I break that apart, there's a single flower there, just between my thumbnails.
They're fab for the insects. Instead of having to visit many different flowers and use up all its energy, you can visit one and get multiple nectar sources. So asters are a must. There isn't really anything that's going to beat them, which is why I love them quite so much.
There's an aster for every situation, and even better than that, they ignite interest in the border at a time of the year when just about everything else in the herbaceous plant world is starting to breathe a sigh of relief. That's the point when asters get excitable.
Here at Arley Hall, the herbaceous borders grow with such enthusiasm and vigour they need to be tamed. High maintenance is one of the main reasons why spectacular borders like these began to fall from favour. But I believe the investment of time and effort on these beautiful plants can result in one of the most rewarding experiences in horticulture. I'm working with head gardener Gordon Bailey for a spot of deadheading on the border, just to see how much work goes into creating perfection.
Deadheading, like on these astilbes, is one of those tidying up tasks. It's all about aesthetics, really, isn't it? Keeping it looking clean and tidy.
It is. You don't want one plant distracting your eye from the plants around it. It's finished flowering, but there are still others around that are in flower or are going to flower.
When do you do your major prune back? When is it you reduce the canopy of the plants to ground?
First decent frost, and then we'll start cutting plants down. We start quite early because we like to get on the border. Quite a bit of work's going to be done. We've made notes through the year, what we want to move, what we want to divide, what we want to reduce in size. So we want to have plenty of time through the winter months to actually get that done.
It strikes me that most people's opinions of borders like this would be they love the look, but they're not quite so keen on the maintenance. Do you find yourself overwhelmed by it?
I do enjoy working in the border. It is a participation sport, really. So you get in and you do, which is one of the things that I love about being a gardener, is that you're always working with the plants.
And the trick here really is to impose yourself on the garden. You're in charge, you're in control of the plants. They will perform, but if you don't carry out the maintenance, you're in danger of losing control.
Very much so. One of the things that will happen is the big thugs will take over and they'll run through and they'll swamp and strangle out the smaller and sometimes more delicate plants. And very often they're the precious ones that you want to have. So it's got to be kept in its place. No one plant at any time has centre stage. It's all of the different plants working in combinations as they come and go throughout the season, leading right the way up to the very first frost. It will still look good and there'll still be plenty of colour in it.
What is it that you find particularly interesting about herbaceous borders? Why do you fall in love with them?
I think it's the diversity of plants that you can use within the border and their combinations, and the fact that the border changes throughout the whole of the growing season. So it's not just one hit. A plant will look good for a while, it will fade away, and then something else comes in and takes its place. But also there is that ability to move plants around and rejig if you don't like the way things work. So it's a very interactive part of the garden, and you never reach that point where you stand back and go, that's it, finished.
Yeah.
We've done.
It's work in progress.
It's always work in progress. Never seems to come to an end.
Just one of the jobs that Gordon and his team have to keep on top of is the weeding. In such a fertile space that promotes such vigorous growth, the weeds that break through can be pretty vigorous too.
It's worth remembering that not all herbaceous plants are good news in a herbaceous border. For instance, plants like this, the bindweed or convolvulus, are a perennial weed. They're rather lazy plants. They emerge out of the ground in early spring, climb their way around your prized specimens, and then literally throttle them. Now, it's very tempting to grab a hold of these and just yank them out, but in fact, that just helps the weed because they've got deep taproots which penetrate several metres in and across the ground. And all that will do is just help them propagate. So to get rid of it, if you very carefully untwine it from the plant it's trying to strangle, and you can see it's quite a long specimen, put a stake in the ground and then rewind your bindweed around the cane or stake. But the point is that you're isolating the weed from the plant it was inhabiting. And then, when it's dry, you can sneak up on it and treat it with a systemic herbicide. That's a herbicide which you apply to the foliage, but then finds its way down the stem and kills right back to the heart of the plant and all of its root system. This is a great way of ensuring you treat the bindweed and the bindweed doesn't kill your prized specimen. And these are exactly the sort of plants that you have to get rid of from your garden before you start to plant your herbaceous border. If you don't get rid of them, then there's only one victor, and that's the perennial weeds.
This is Waterperry Gardens in Oxfordshire. Here they maintain a border that was designed to teach horticultural students how to care for herbaceous perennials. I'm meeting nursery manager Lizzie Glasser to find out more about this magical place.
When the sun strikes the border, it's just majestic. Such a bold statement.
It's a beautiful, beautiful border. It's there to give real bursts of pleasure over 3 periods from May until the end of October.
And there's a real history to this border, and we know that it has great integrity.
It has, because of course it was started by Miss Beatrice Havergal, who took over the site here at Waterperry in 1932 and set up her horticultural school for young ladies. And this was where she arrived with 6 students and 2 tutors to train future generations of very successful women gardeners. I just wish I'd been one of them.
Today, the garden still runs courses, but most visitors come to catch a glimpse of the 60-metre herbaceous border, diligently kept to Miss Havergal's design.
For people who perhaps haven't encountered herbaceous borders on this sort of scale and with this grandeur before, what advice do you give them about having a go? What confidence can you provide for them?
Have a go. It's really, really good fun. I didn't know anything 8 years ago. I knew absolutely nothing. I just was a lady that lunched and enjoyed looking around galleries. I'm mad about this because somebody persuaded me to have a go, and it's easy.
Do you think it's possible to have a British garden without a herbaceous border being present? Would it have the same energy?
No, definitely not. Everybody needs to have a tiny little bit of herbaceous border in their own garden.
Undoubtedly, Miss Havergal designed this border to excite her students about a career in horticulture. To see if the border can still inspire, I've invited 2 non-gardening Oxford University students down for a little experiment.
How do you react when you see gardens? What do gardens provoke in you?
Fear.
Why? See, I think that's interesting. What's fearful about a garden? What could possibly be fearful about a green space?
What's lurking in there?
I just don't know anything about it, and I feel like I should.
What I want you to try and do is to draw and document with diagrams and words, or however you see fit, the secrets to the composition of this border.
We should be able to do that easily.
Have a go.
And when I say easily, I mean not definitely easily, but we'll have a go.
While Matt and Lorraine get to grips with this traditional border, I explore another important piece of herbaceous design.
I'm not the first person to try and reinvigorate and revitalise herbaceous borders. The last time it happened was in the 1970s. And in a break away from those long, straight, traditional borders, this is the response. Island beds. Using essentially the same plant material and arranging them in a very similar way, but in a bed that you can walk all the way around. It makes much better use of space. If you've got a small patch of garden and you really want to give it that expansive feel, it's an interesting choice.
These may work in smaller spaces, but for me, the traditional border is the most dramatic element of any garden. I wonder if Matt and Lorraine will agree.
Structurally, I've seen more clearly the sort of frontal lobes of stuff that's about to come through, and then the middle section of the flowering stuff, and then the back, pure mystery. Mystery behind the wall.
What do you mean by mystery?
Well, as in, it feels like there's a lot of empty space there.
The mystery that you talk about is actually a service path. It's a path to allow you to get access to the back of the garden so that you can maintain and manage the plants. And Lorraine, describe how you saw the border.
It seems to work as a flattened landscape. A lot of Claude Lorraine's paintings, he tends to manipulate space and guide the viewer very specifically into different parts of the painting. That's very apparent in this border as well, which perhaps is what a lot of gardening is about.
I think you're absolutely right. What the designer is doing is playing with colour in exactly the same way as an artist is playing with colour, trying to get your eye to move in a very deliberate way to appreciate the space which is being created. And when you consider that that's just the view today, you come back next week, it's a completely different view. So it becomes this sort of constant orchestration and choreography where one plant is coming to the fore and the next plant is receding, and the performance changes day on day, year on year.
Next time I see a border, I'll be looking at a lot more at the composition, which is good, because before I just walked straight past it.
More than a happy accident. These borders at Arley Hall are a wonderful example of painting with plants. It allows us to be drawn into the heart of the garden and gives us wonderful views out to the estate beyond.
If you want to keep your herbaceous perennials vigorous, vibrant and healthy, there's one simple technique you'll need to master: plant division.
One of the rewards of growing herbaceous perennials is the speed at which they establish themselves. In many cases, it's just 2 or 3 years before they've completely filled the space. And that's very much the case with this Achillea. It's called the pearl because of its tiny white flowers that persist right through the summer months. And yet here, it's outspilt its space. Now, that may sound like a problem, but as with anything in gardening, it can be turned to your advantage, because if we dig it up, then you can be fairly rough with the fork underneath. Give it a bit of a tickle, and what you're trying to do is to take out as much of the plant as possible. Grab a hold of it and take a chunk out. There we go. And we can see these white stems here turning upwards and becoming green shoots, which will give us that wonderful burst of growth next spring. Now, this plant can be given a bit of a haircut, and you would normally do this once the plant has started to slip into its winter or autumn dormancy, but it can be done as late as spring, even as late as the young shoots coming through. So a bit of a haircut, and then what you need is some fibrous root, some shoots and some stems. And then you can divide the plant as much as you wish. Now, the traditional way of doing it, if I can find my other fork, is to get 2 forks, put them back to back, and just prise the plant apart. It looks quite rough, but you can see that we've instantly got a second plant. Plants can become a little bit lazy if you allow them to become too large in the garden. And by constantly lifting and dividing, usually on a 3 to 5 year cycle, what you do is encourage extra growth, extra flowers, more vigour and better performance. This is typical of the sort of thing that I started off doing in horticulture. As a 13-year-old boy, I walked into a nursery and my very first job was lifting and dividing herbaceous perennials. And there's something really rather rewarding about the whole process, because this whole clump can provide us with 3 or 4 new specimens. Left outside, they're perfectly hardy, and then next spring they can be planted out as a part of your ongoing painting masterpiece.
I hope I've shown that herbaceous borders are an important and beautiful part of our garden heritage. You don't need a country estate or a huge garden to have one, but what you will need are plants. A great place to pick up a spectacular herbaceous specimen for your garden is one of the UK's many plant fairs. Here you can get advice and meet growers like Martin Blow.
Growing herbaceous perennials is really important to us because we can grow the plants that perhaps the garden centres don't cover. Garden centres don't like growing tall plants quite often. They're difficult to manage, whereas we can do it on a small scale. You can come out to a plant fair like this and get great advice. And these people are passionate about the plants. They're really keen to preserve the old varieties and make them available to the public. That one.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Lovely.
Now,
thank you. So that's, how are we talking about? 6 and 5 is 11 then. That's, I'm glad you can do the maths because I can't.
No. I think events like this are important because you get a mixture of specialist growers that you wouldn't normally perhaps go and see.
There's so much choice, plants that you've never seen before.
I mean, people might feel a bit daunted trying to do a herbaceous border in a small space, but it's not too difficult. You can get some nice, easy plants to do to start with, put them in the garden. If it goes wrong, it doesn't look right, you don't like it, then move them around. It doesn't matter. It's a chance to get outside and do some exercise. It's a chance to become artistic, and it's also a chance to help wildlife as well. It really is a good thing to do in your garden.
Herbaceous perennials offer unabashed and unrivaled beauty and personality that fill the senses, and when arranged in herbaceous borders like this, they produce the most fantastic carnival atmosphere. I hope you feel inspired to step outside and create your own personal horticultural masterpiece, the herbaceous border.
To me, there's nothing more rewarding or attractive than a kitchen garden full to the brim with lovely, fresh, organic produce.
But the shocking truth is that we buy over 80% of our fruit and vegetables at the supermarket, and 60% of them are imported. We're losing a huge array of our traditional British varieties.
I want to revive our passion for kitchen gardens. I'm not talking about the veg patch at the bottom of the garden or allotments. I'm talking about proper kitchen gardens, places of great ornamental beauty that provide us with food year-round. So join me, Alys Fowler, for the Great British Kitchen Garden Revival.
On my campaign, I'll be revealing the secrets of one of Britain's oldest traditional kitchen gardens that is fighting to keep our horticultural heritage alive.
The kind of wealth of food at our fingertips in the UK is to match and rival anywhere else.
I'll be showing you edible plants that take your breath away.
One of my favourite hangover cures.
And when you say your favourite hangover cures, is it because it's going to be so shocking that you forget you have a hangover?
And up and down the country, we'll be meeting people who are turning unused spaces into super productive kitchen gardens.
Plants are like kids, they want to be good. A veg wants to grow, they'll grow anyway. They love it.
I grew up in my mother's kitchen garden. In fact, my very first garden was underneath the fig tree. I learnt to hide between the asparagus beds. I ate my way around that space and played on top of the walls. For me, the kitchen garden is home. When I think of gardening, I always think about food. So what better place to start my revival than here at a garden that supplies one of Britain's most famous restaurants with exciting seasonal food.
These are the gardens of Le Manoir aux Quatre Saisons in Oxfordshire, home to the acclaimed kitchen garden of 2 Michelin-starred chef Raymond Blanc. The cutting-edge food here is made with fruit and vegetables grown in these beds.
So this is the famous garden.
Restored 28 years ago when the restaurant first opened, head gardener Anne-Marie Owens has been managing the organic kitchen gardens ever since.
None of this is lip service. All of this is going to end up in the kitchen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole point, we've only succeeded when these vegetables, herbs are on the plates.
Right.
So we're just like any other supplier. They are looking for top quality with everything that we do.
Do the chefs just come down here and pick what they want, or do you take it to the kitchen?
Absolutely not. No, we harvest everything for them. Chefs do 2 tours a week to have a look at everything and taste whilst we're down here so that menus can be altered.
It sounds like you're kind of so involved with each other.
From start to finish, everything we do, it's a team effort, from the thought process, the planning process, the preparation of the soil, the sowing, the chef, his creation of the dish.
It is lovely to come here and realise that flavour matters so much to a group of people, because as a grower of food, it's the thing that kind of, I get up in the morning and go to my garden with that exact desire, like, the reason why I do it is because I know I can get flavour here I can't get anywhere else.
Freshness is the absolute key. That's what we should all be striving for, is to, even just to put a little pod of something on the windowsill, you'll just notice the freshness.
The Grow Your Own movement may be alive and kicking in the UK, as recent demands for allotment shows. But the traditional idea of a carefully planned kitchen garden, providing an abundant supply of fresh fruit, vegetables and flowers all year round, has died out. But around the UK, our great country estates are now working hard to bring this tradition back. At Tatton Park, an 18th century manor in Cheshire, they've recreated what is now one of the oldest kitchen gardens in Britain. Head gardener Simon Tetlow has been working on the revival of these gardens for 15 years. Today, it's almost a complete recreation of how it was in Edwardian times.
So what exactly would have been grown in a kitchen garden traditionally for the period?
The easiest way of explaining Alice would be something like what we expect when we walk into a supermarket now. You know, these ranks of fruit from all over the world, these vegetables from all over the world. That same choice is what owners expected from these places 200 years ago.
And how many people would have expected to feed, do you know?
There'd be a family, you know, large family who had kind of requirements for banquets and the usual large social engagements. We know that the family sent food down to their London house at Grosvenor Square. So there's a kind of demand for kind of high quality, fresh produce, you know, 12 months of the year.
That this wall garden wasn't just dumped here, really, was it? It was very much chosen.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you know, the books and the manuals for kitchen gardening kind of tells you exactly where to lay your garden out, which angles to face the sun, and which walls to set for certain crops like peaches and nectarines. And this is almost textbook. You know, there's a nice gentle slope to the west. There's a nice shelter belt in front of us there. And it's just that attention to detail that allows you to grow things here that you would expect to grow somewhere like 80 miles south of Paris. But, you know, using the same principles of site and aspect and soil and use of cultivars, you know, you can be growing any of this at home quite easily.
After the First World War, a smaller workforce and an increase in mass production agriculture meant the excessive cost of kitchen gardens in our grand country estates was no longer worth maintaining. Simon and his team are conserving our British fruit and vegetable heritage by planting traditional varieties that are no longer available in our supermarkets, including an array of beans, herbs, salads, beetroot, kales, and an incredible 82 varieties of apple.
The kind of key to growing, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, is the use of variety. And I think using varieties to grow things early, grow things late, or to keep for storage. You know, beetroot isn't just a beetroot. There's ones that store, there's ones that are fresh, ones for salads, ones for boiling. Horticulture allows you to kind of play and experiment with your own cooking, what you like to cook and what you like to eat, and not be dictated to.
Yeah. I often think people are very disparaging about the British diet and food, but actually what they're talking about is the post-war diet.
Yeah.
And before that, we ate just as well as anybody on the Mediterranean, didn't we?
We did. I mean, the kind of wealth of food at our fingertips in the UK is to match and rival anywhere else, and that is really what we're trying to do here, is just to egg people on to have a go themselves, and that's really what good gardening is about.
This is grow at your own on an epic scale, but what we need to take away is not that you need huge space, but that we need to grow varieties of vegetables, because if we don't grow them, they'll be lost.
The expansive kitchen garden at Le Manoir covers almost 2 acres and is rammed with 90 types of fruit, herbs, flowers and vegetables, thanks to its clever design, gardening techniques and choice of varieties. The good news is I'm going to show you that even with a smaller plot you can create a stylish and sustainable kitchen garden that is full of beauty and bounty.
If you've always wanted a kitchen garden but don't know quite where to start, the simplest design is to use 4 quadrants. Now, in terms of garden history, this is the oldest design out there, and there's a reason why it's a classic. It just works aesthetically.
The tradition of dividing the space into 4 planting areas goes back centuries and has its origins in the earliest Persian gardens. The upper-class Victorians embraced it as an aesthetic that showed off their wealth of exotic fruit, vegetables, plants and flowers from far-flung places.
And then how you edge these quadrants is up to you. So if you wanted to be incredibly formal, you could do box edging. Or if you wanted something a little bit more perfumed, you could choose dwarf lavenders. If you didn't want something so permanent, you could put parsley or chives. If you had a huge garden, you would then make each quadrant into a single vegetable group. So all cabbage family, roots such as parsnips and carrots. But because we have much smaller gardens, we're going to squish it in together, but still keep it looking very attractive. So you could be very clever with your space and create an archway. So your beans could grow underneath the path, and all the beans hang down so they're easy to pick. And then along the wall or fence, perhaps you could put some apples and pears. If you don't like apples, maybe you could grow a vine or a fig. It's really making the most of the space to keep the aesthetic kind of really tight. The idea is to make the beds look very similar. Not necessarily with the same vegetables, because that would limit how much you get to eat, but the aesthetic of the design. It's a good idea to make sure you don't grow the same vegetables in the same place every year, because what happens if you do this is you tend to get a build-up of pests and diseases. Also, you don't have to be limited to just growing vegetables. It's really important to have flowers in your garden because they're going to attract all the beneficial insects and pollinators into the space. Now, from experience, I would suggest that you always put your herbs as close to the kitchen as you possibly can, even if that means in pots around the back door, because once you decide in the middle of a dish that it really would be so much better if you had a little winter savoury or some nice thyme, walking in your slippers through a wet path down to the bottom of the garden just never happens. But for me, one of the joys of having a garden like this is that it really changes the way you cook, because instead of having this idea that you're going to make a certain sort of recipe in one evening, you just walk through the garden and go, gosh, those beets are really ready. I know I'm going to work with them tonight. Or, oh, look at the lovely fresh herbs I could be using. The garden lends as much inspiration to the kitchen as the kitchen does to the garden.
Whatever the space you have available, planning and planting a successful kitchen garden can bring immense pleasure and put food on your plates. You don't always need to buy the same varieties of produce from the supermarket. Instead, grow things seasonally and enjoy the fruits of your labour. And in the London borough of Kensington and Chelsea, People Power has convinced the council to help make this happen.
This used to be a disused tennis court, but now it's more of a case of game, set and patch, as it's been turned into kitchen gardens for more than 80 people. And I'm really excited to see what's being done here.
The council have installed 47 specially constructed raised wooden beds at this garden alone. Terry Oliver is the man who was instrumental in championing this project 4 years ago.
I'm really interested in the fact that you're not calling them allotments, but calling them kitchen gardens. Is there any reason behind that?
I suppose the main reason is that we wanted them to look nice. And with the community kitchen gardens, what we do is try and encourage residents to grow a mixture of fruit, veg and flowers as well. Because it's a very densely populated area, a lot of the gardens are overlooked, so it's important to make them look nice. The council really have invested quite a lot into the actual garden scheme as well. We've got about 42 kitchen gardens across the whole borough now. Nearly 1,000 people growing their own fruit and veg, and the more gardens we put in, the more popular it is.
It's an incredibly kind of progressive attitude for the council to take, and it's just great to see.
Thank you. Yeah.
This beautiful, productive kitchen garden has obviously had a huge effect on the local community and the people who come here every day, rain or shine.
I wonder what it means to you to have a space like this.
Well, cuts the food bills, for a start. I mean, it does actually. Yeah. Sometimes when, you know, you haven't got enough money for the week, you come and pick a bit of produce here and cook it and have a stir fry, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
I didn't know anything about gardening. It's my first exploration into gardening because I live in a top floor flat. And what's nice about these plots is that we quite often exchange.
There's a lot of swapping.
Yes,
sure.
yes,
Yeah.
so that's good.
This is my strawberry.
Strawberry patch.
Strawberry patch.
Look, and you've still got strawberries. That's amazing.
You always see in gardening books, get a wine box and grow strawberries in it. And then all of a sudden you think, oh, wow, I can do that now.
We've made real friends through the garden and lasting friends.
Yes.
And they're our neighbours, and we've all lived around here for 25 years plus.
Yes.
And we didn't know each other.
You can't imagine life without it.
No,
It's made an immense change.
The gardening they're doing here is inspiring, and I'm going to give them some of my own favourites to add to their bumper crop next year.
For me, kitchen garden's all about embracing some kind of new things to grow each year. So I was wondering if I could persuade you to take on some new seeds. Some of them are quite familiar, some of them hopefully you haven't seen before. Does anybody have a big preference for something immediately that they want to have a go at?
Yes. I want that.
Okay, so that's patty pan, which is, you know, a summer squash. If you don't keep on top of picking them, they go from this to flying saucers quite quickly. So yeah, that's patty pan.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think if you're in a really sunny position, then you should try the white aubergines. Have you grown aubergines before?
No.
They need good fertile soil, the sunniest spot you can give them, and they need more water than you'd imagine. So this is an heirloom cucumber actually, and it's called crystal apple, this one. And we always think that cucumbers have to be long and green, but actually they can be yellow and they can be short and dumpy. Right. And then this is really fantastic. And I guess maybe also it would be a good idea just to collectively grow it, which is strawberry popcorn. You can open them up like that.
Wow,
fantastic. Yeah, and because this isn't, you know, because you're not trying to eat it at sweet corn stage. You're not. Once they feel firm and hard, they're ready, and then you know you can shuck them off, put them in a frying pan, and they'll pop. So they'd be good for a community party.
Not only are people in this borough now getting to eat fresh food from their own kitchen garden, but they're also making their community stronger. But a thing to take away from this project is that you can do it absolutely anywhere, whether it's in the corner of your garden or in a disused plot. At Le Manoir, the menu is influenced by what's at the peak of its season in the kitchen garden. With the range of beetroots and other root vegetables at their best, head gardener Anne-Marie has had an order to harvest them for today's specially designed dishes.
We've had a nice sort of early autumn rain and they've swollen beautifully. There's so many different varieties and colours to them. I really would not be put off by the pickled beetroot that everybody seems to go for, but to have them roasted, absolutely beautiful vegetable, very sweet.
Sweet and delicious. And you've got other varieties here, haven't you?
We have. We've got the white here. There's a lovely one to...
I think the white is so underused. I think it's one of those ones which have really been forgotten, that you can have this beetroot that doesn't stain everything, just so super sweet. The thing about beets is not sowing them too early, isn't it? Because if they get in very cold, wet soil, they don't like that much.
I think it's relatively an easy crop, and I think also instead of just sticking to one variety, get a few packets, mix them up and pull them out.
I think it's a really good trick if you've got a very small space to do exactly that. Mix up the seeds. Do the same with, I often do that with radishes as well, so that in one row you get a pink, a red, a white.
That's it.
Well, do you think we have enough now?
I think we do.
I feel like I could carry on filling.
The great thing is you can grow many different varieties of vegetables to cook with throughout the year. Experiment with what you enjoy eating and always check the seed packets to learn the best time to plant. And with the final request for Sage, I'm off to the kitchen to see this amazing produce turned into a 2 Michelin-starred, autumn-inspired heritage beetroot dish. Development chef Adam Johnson has been working at the restaurant creating seasonal dishes with Raymond for 9 years.
So tell me, what are we going to cook?
OK, so we're just going to finish off a dish now, an autumn vegetable dish, so all of the things we've picked in the garden.
Right. Is this the first time you've worked at a restaurant where there's such a relationship with the garden?
This is a very unique place, and the chefs here get more in tune with the seasons. Everyone is used to seeing strawberries all year round and asparagus, so when we come here, the gardeners are very in tune with the chefs, so they're constantly saying, oh, we've got this coming up next, we need to think of the menus. You're getting excited, thinking of all the dishes we did last year and how we can improve it, and looking forward to that season.
This is when you get to do the chefy bit, isn't it?
Yeah, no pressure. No one's watching. And we've just got a little bit of spinach or chard. Again, the gardeners dictate what we have on the plates. If they say they're running out of spinach and we've got a load of chard coming on, then we'll move on to that. Now, here we've got a few beetroots.
That looks like golden, the golden varieties.
Yeah. And we've got these lovely ruby beetroots. Which will get your fingers very mucky.
Yeah.
So just to finish off, we've got a little bit of deep-fried sage leaves, and then just a few little bits of parsnip as well.
It's lovely. It's like a beautiful manifestation of what autumn is, isn't it? The colours, the flavours, everything. And I love the fact that there's lots of different varieties of beetroots here, just kind of really bringing home that idea that flavour is not one variety. I am one gardener who thinks entirely with her stomach.
Happy?
This is such a wonderful celebration of everything that is good about a kitchen garden. Fantastic soil, great varieties, great growers, and amazing chefs.
A kitchen garden is not just for Michelin-star chefs. We can all create a glorious space on a smaller scale and grow food all year long. I want to show you that with a bit of imagination, it's not just about the amazing range of British varieties of fruit and vegetables. There's also a whole world of edible plants we can grow that are decorative and delicious. I've come to meet Paul Barney, who, like the Victorian plant hunters before him, travels the world to bring unusual specimens back to his nursery in Berkshire, so that people like you and me can buy them to plant in our kitchen gardens.
So if you never thought to grow a sort of unusual edible that was going to come back year after year, what group would you start with?
Well, I'd start with the enormous range of the onion family. Alliums, generally, they are a fantastic big range, and they really are very tasty and great for insects and really beautiful.
Now this is new to me. What's this?
This is Allium hookeri zarami, quite a mouthful. It's an allium I found in India in the markets, and you can eat every single bit of it, pretty much.
Can I try a bit?
Of course.
Mm.
Really crunchy, great flavour.
It's quite, it's a little bit of garlic, but quite a lot of chive in there, isn't it? I mean, that's one of those plants where you look at it and think, my gosh, that I get to eat that, as well as it looking that attractive in my garden. That's a huge bonus, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you've started experimenting, the possibilities are endless. There are even edible plants with health benefits.
So what's this lovely thing in a pot?
Well, this is a Schisandra chinensis. It's a vine from China and Japan. It's a really good liver tonic. I mean, that's why the Chinese and Japanese rate it so highly.
And are these what I should be eating?
They are. You give those a try. One of my favourite hangover cures.
And when you say your favourite hangover cures, is it because it's going to be so shocking that you forget you have a hangover?
No, because you can feel it's just doing so much good for your liver. And it's so refreshing.
Oh, wow.
Zings you back into...
Yeah, that's a bit of everything, isn't it? It's a slight peppery note, a lot of citrus. Is this the sort of height it will grow to, or does it grow much bigger?
It's not a very big climber. It's a small climber which likes to be in part shady conditions, so very handy for a
Very
small
useful,
garden.
Yeah. So basically there should be one outside every pub in England.
And Paul's also got the ultimate British plant for any novice kitchen gardener. No excuses. Anyone can grow the traditional Babington leek.
How do you cook with them?
Well, I use these like garlic, but milder.
Yeah.
Giving a lot of good crunch. So a stir fry.
I wish people would really embrace kitchen gardens for what they really can be, which is like an exciting sort of store cupboard of your garden, and move beyond that idea of just growing potatoes and onions and carrots.
At Le Manoir, they use organic gardening techniques, growing both old and new varieties. What's more, there's a lot of ideas here that we can borrow for our own kitchen garden to keep them going all year round.
At this time of year, the vegetable garden is often groaning, but there's always other tricks to be had. And these runner beans are a really good example because they've become big, they've become stringy, and nobody wants to eat them anymore. However, if you fertile about, you'll find there are these older, drier pods. When you open them up, you'll see that there's beautiful beans inside. Now, this is a variety called Tsar. What you want to do is take your beans indoors, put them on a baking tray, somewhere light and airy where they can continue to dry out, because what you want to be able to do is press it and no longer see your thumbnail imprint in the bean. That means that they're good to store, and then you just put them in a jam jar and they will store all winter long. So these are great in soups and stews, and that way you get this whole extra crop of something that you didn't think you were going to get another meal off. Now, it's not just the runner beans that are desperate to set seed. Many of the annual veg are now racing against the season before winter comes. And two of my favourite in my kitchen garden is this purple auric and also this lovely Mexican tree spinach. Now, both of these are fantastic spinach substitutes. They grow into these massive, tall plants with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of seeds. However, you don't have to waste all the seed. So you collect it when it's gone this buff colour and it's dry, and then you can take this seed and sow it for microgreens over the winter. Now, microgreens are just a fancy name for baby leaves. They're perfect for using as a garnish or for making a small salad. So here I've got some sorrel, some French sorrel, so that nice lemony flavour. And then this here is a red radish. So it's going to have slightly mustardy, hot, spicy flavour. Now, the great thing about something like the auric or the Mexican tree spinach is you get so much free seed that you can have greens all winter long. And all you need to do is get a seed tray, fill it with some good quality compost, and then just liberally sow the seed across. You can get away with really packing them in. Then gently tamp them into the soil and then cover them up. You don't need to cover them too thickly, just sort of anchor them into the soil. Give them a good water, leave it on a warm windowsill, and literally within days you'll see growth. And then when they're about sort of 5–10 centimetres or so high, take a pair of scissors, chop them off, and there's a really fantastic, super easy meal from something that was in your garden.
I'm not alone on my mission to revive the Great British Kitchen Garden. 6 years ago, Mary Clear and her neighbours in Todmorden, West Yorkshire, decided to turn their whole town into one. They made it their mission to get the community excited about gardening, with the added benefits of being able to eat locally grown produce.
I don't have any horticultural background and I don't believe you need it. I believe that plants are like kids, they want to be good. So what do they need? They need sunshine, they need muck, and they need water. And that's it, Bob's your uncle. We've got such a variety in this country of vegetables, and I grow veg wherever I can, whether it's a tiny space, a big space, a roof, an empty bucket, or someone's tin hat. You know, a veg wants to grow. They'll grow anywhere. They love it.
She even managed to convince everyone from the local scouts to community college to have a patch of green and grow some fruit and vegetables, and the local bobbies to convert the beds outside the police station.
People from different walks of life that volunteer, they give up their own time to come here, plant these vegetables, tend them and harvest them. It's brought the police and the community closer together, breaking down barriers, and we're proud to be part of it.
I'm really passionate about growing vegetables because it crosses all the cultures, class, age, creed. Everybody knows something, a tiny bit about vegetables. Every culture's got its own vegetable history and background. And not only that, you can cook them afterwards and celebrate.
We have such a strong tradition of kitchen gardens in this country, but it is a heritage that is seriously in danger of being lost.
So my message is simple. Let us celebrate our kitchen gardens by growing more beautiful vegetables, more fresh herbs, more wonderful flowers. Let us have gardens that are good to eat and beautiful to look at. Let us have a great British kitchen garden revival.